It was a calm, beautiful fall day in July 1997 when an unsuspecting, unprepared family of 7 was savagely abducted by a ravenous pack of dolphins. They were stripped of their shoes, their identifications, and drug out into these very waters by these bloodthirsty aquatic mammals, never to be seen again. Don't let this happen to you. Be prepared. Welcome back, friends. My name is Jason, and today I'm going to show you around my rig here. Some of you are familiar with the OTAT, the On3 adventure truck, and some of you have not had the privilege of learning about this beautiful machine and what I have done to it and its capabilities thus far.
We need to get you some focus herbs. Look like the world's ugliest turtle.
So friends, what you're looking at here is a 7.3 liter big block power stroke diesel engine. The beauty of this engine is that it was converted over to run on used vegetable oil. So in a lot of my ramblings around the country, I haven't had to spend hardly any money on diesel fuel, which has been incredible. We'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. This engine right here is a 2001 Ford 7.3. Now, a lot of people ask, does it run on biodiesel? How'd you get it to work on that? Basically, long story short, the fuel, the vegetable oil, the used vegetable oil, is stored in a tank right here. That right there, my friends, is 44 gallons of vegetable oil. That came out of a Ford Excursion. We had to remove the spare tire rig, the apparatus that holds the typical spare tire, and install that. And now I can fill up right here my used vegetable oil. And what essentially happens is the engine's coolant, the antifreeze, gets pumped all the way back, all 87 feet of this truck, all the way back to the back, and it warms up the vegetable oil. So the engine's coolant, as the engine warms up, it heats the vegetable oil to 165 degrees, and then underneath the dash is a computer. And once it gets warm enough, it automatically switches over to run on vegetable oil, switches from diesel over to vegetable oil. And so far, so good. I've had very few issues with that system, and I've put a lot of miles. I put, 50,000 miles in a couple of years on that, and it's gone really, really well. What I wanted was essentially a mobile rig, basically camp set up, ready to go. So no matter where I ended up, I could just crawl out of the front seat, climb into the back, and camp is made. And that is amazing. Now, I'm all about camping primitively. I'm all about sleeping under a tarp or a tent or a poncho in a hammock somewhere in the midst of the wilderness. I love that. That's what I'm all about. Minimal gear. But every now and then, it's really nice to just roll in and not have to set anything up. And even better is if it's pouring down rain and when you break down camp, who wants to go home, set all that crap back up and let it dry out? I don't have time for that. With this system right here, with this rig, I don't have to do that. A lot of you are gonna look at this and be like, man, that's so cool. How'd you make that happen? Well, let me tell you. I bought this Raider camper top right here, this camper shell. I bought it for 150 bucks. But unfortunately, camper shells are not designed to work on the tool bodies right here, these utility beds. So, with a few 2x4s and a skill saw, a few deck screws later, I made it work. I filled in the gaps and I attached this thing with some lag bolts, and we're off to the races. And now we've got a place to crawl in inclement weather and camp to stay out of the elements without any setup whatsoever. So in the back of this truck right here, the floor is 4x8, 4 foot by 8 foot. And I have built a little shelf here, a little deck basically to slide in here pretty easily. And this is just half of it. There's a whole nother half. And when my kids come along with me, this is where they sleep, my younger kids. My oldest daughter just sleeps in the back seat of the truck. And they sleep crossways like this, and me and my wife would sleep underneath. Now you could put down, if I'm just by myself, I may or may not put this in here. I might just put a cot down. And that's fantastic. In fact, that's the best camp ever, is just lay back here in a cot with a wool blanket and a sleeping bag. You're set, no problems whatsoever. It's really, really nice. But when we've got the whole family, my wife and I would sleep like this down here on sleep pads, and my kids would sleep up top. But right now we're just using it for a shelf, for like storage space, for our cooler, for our power station here, so we can charge our phones and devices and stuff because we're working on the road, and then just various other groceries and whatnot. So that's what that's all about. I've got 30 gallons of used vegetable oil because I can only haul 44 gallons of oil in my tank. I might need to refuel, and that keeps me from having to stop and buy diesel. So in just a minute, I'll be filling up my tank because I'm down to about a quarter tank. I'm gonna go ahead and fill those 30 gallons up in that big tank. I've got 10 gallons of water here ready to drink. Now, a lot of you are going to look at this and be like, oh, it's not one of those fancy overland rigs, you know? It doesn't have the rooftop tent, which I think, for the most part, are kind of dumb anyway. This is way better, in my opinion. The rooftop tents, once you set them up, you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stationary. If you want to go somewhere, you've got to take that tent back down. Some are easier than others, I get that. But still, you've got to go through the process of setting up, taking down if you want to drive anywhere. This one, I just get out and start the engine and drive away. I don't have to do anything back here. My camp is already made and there's no setup required. So for that reason, I think the back of a truck camp is way better than one of those rooftop tents. But that's just my opinion. You let me know what you think about that in the comment section. And also, this was done for a really, really budget price. I actually bought 3 trucks to build one. I took all the parts off the other 2 trucks and combined them into this conglomeration of somewhere between a 1999 and 2001 F350. All in all, everything, all expenses that I can think of, all added up, was probably somewhere between $20,000 and $22,000. That's for everything. That's rebuilding the transmission. That's tires and everything. We all know how expensive tires can be, especially big ones like the ones on this truck. But you could easily spend that on one of your overland rigs just on accessories alone. I mean, very easily you'd spend that on some of those rigs. Some people have spent way over $100,000 on some of those things, and they've got ice makers and leaf blowers and lawn mowers attached to them. But this one doesn't have that. It's simple, but it gets the job done. It is a shelter, and that's really what I want. It can carry all the stuff that I want, can haul all the equipment that I want. It can tow whatever I want without even noticing it behind you, really. And it's got storage space out the wazoo because of the utility bed, the work body that it's got. It's been really good. Look at this bi-folding custom tailgate right here. This came with it, obviously, but this part didn't. I had to close up this hole somehow. So when I did this camper shell, there was this giant big hole right here because this is where the tailgate ended. So we just used some door hinges, and look at that. You can fold this thing down. You can set it up like your typical tailgate would and chain it up like that. That gets the job done if that's how you want to roll. Pretty simple. So on this thing, we've got some big 33-inch all-terrain tires. It's obviously got 4-wheel drive, which was essential, which was a requirement for any big truck that I wanted to build. I wanted to be able to go in places like this without having to worry about getting stuck. Now, could you still get stuck in a place like this without 4-wheel drive? Absolutely. And that's why you should carry some of the basics. Now, I'd like to have a big winch on here, but I haven't invested in that yet. I'd like just one that goes in the receiver, the hitch receiver winch. That would be fantastic, but I haven't got that yet. But I do, however, have straps that come along and a big heavy-duty chain, and I could flag somebody down and they could help pull me out of this sandbar down here if I needed it. We've got tie-down straps to secure any loads, like the canoe that's on top of the truck right now. We've got a full-size spare up here and a custom-built rack right there that me and my buddy JP put together, and that has really worked quite well, especially if I need to haul extra fuel. I can haul it up there. In one of the side compartments, here, our first side compartment, this is where I keep all the mechanical type stuff, and this is really important because this is an older vehicle, right? It's a 1999 to 2001, depending on which part you're talking about. And occasionally you're gonna have to do some maintenance. And unfortunately, sometimes that's on the roadside or in the parking lot somewhere. And I need to have the tools required to do those things. So I've got everything from a tarp, a nasty old tarp that I can lay on the ground if it's in the sand or in the mud and just keep me from getting all disgusting and nasty. I've got tire pumps. I've got drills that I'll use to be pumping the fuel actually here in just a few minutes. I've got ratchets and sockets and wrenches and and all the things that you can think of that might be required to get the job done on the roadside. So I've got almost all the basic tools that you can think of. I've got a small bottle jack here, which works quite well. I've changed tires on the side of the road with a bottle jack like this on this big truck. I use this big block of 2x6 right here in case we're on some soft ground, because if we try to jack a heavy vehicle up on soft sand, it's not gonna go well. The jack will just get pushed into the earth. So having something like this to give you a little bit more surface area is gonna be essential. I've got wipes here to clean nasty oily hands off. I've got some transmission fluid. I've got brake cleaners, a little bit of extra oil and all that kind of stuff, because you just never know. And a tire patch kit, plug kit right here. Always handy when you pick up nails and you got a slow leak and stuff. Really, really nice. Of course, I've got the spare, but it's nice to be able to patch the tire up if you need it. And this side right here, friends, is where I keep a lot of my camp gear. I usually have my pack, my larger pack. That's where I usually keep that, but for just ease of access, I've put it in the back seat for now. And in there, you can look at previous videos and see what I've got in that pack. It's all the basic survival gear, plus some really comfy camping type stuff, like sleeping bags and whatnot. But in here, that's where I keep a lot of my camp gear right here. I've got a big tarp, a 10x10 tarp, some hammocks if we want to string up a hammock somewhere. I've got extra ponchos. I've got a citronella candle because my wife gets devoured by mosquitoes, and it's nice to have a citronella candle. What I've often done, what's worked well in the past is I just set it right here on the bumper like that. Sit it on the bumper, and when we're sleeping inside, that keeps most of the mosquitoes at bay. So because this thing's not completely airtight, mosquitoes can find their way in even the smallest little hole. So there's that. But yeah, basic camp stuff right there in this side of the compartment. I already showed you what was in here, but let's walk around to the other side. All right, now over here, I keep a lot of my hand tools. In the wintertime at home, I'll keep a chainsaw in here. I just took the chainsaw out before we went on this trip. Didn't think I was gonna need it on this trip, so just took it out just in case it was to get stolen or something like that. But I've still got the basic hand tools in here. I keep a full-size shovel right there. This is a shovel I got from the Navy, believe it or not. A Navy SEAL gave this to me. It's a nice shovel. Anywho, I have camp chairs right here for me and my wife, and a table. We were working on the beach yesterday. We set up a nice little station. We had a table, had our chairs, laptops sitting out there watching the waves crashing in, the sunset going down. It was fantastic. I've got hand tools in here, everything from axes, a couple of axes. Do I need 2 axes in there? Probably not. But I've got them. I've got saws, I've got a small shovel, I've got 2 machetes. Again, 2 machetes. The answer is yes, you can never have too many machetes. This one is my favorite. Probably my favorite. They're close, really close. They're very, very similar South American design type machetes. This one is a Trementina, and this one is a Galavan machete, which I don't think you can get anymore. I don't think they make them anymore, but I really like this one. This one has been customized, highly modified by yours truly, right there. And they both have custom sheaths. This one I made out of PVC, which I think turned out really good. This is just about the perfect machete sheath. It was sent to me by a viewer named Shannon, and I'm really grateful that he sent me this. It is awesome. It is just about the perfect, it's made from an old fire hose. How perfect is that right there for a machete sheath? If you want one of these, I think he makes them and sells them, so reach out to me in the comment section, and maybe I can get you in touch with him. He might be able to send you one of these. I can't think of a better machete sheath than that right there. Old fire hose. In here, just got a couple of buckets. It's amazing how handy a bucket is. I mean, just a bucket. This happens to be a 3-galloner, which I think is a really nice size just to have on hand. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space, but just a bucket is really, really nice. And then here's a small one right here. We used this one most recently for a niece of mine that gets really, really car sick and just about throws up every single time there's some turns on the road. So this was for her. So that's nice. This is my pump, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit when I start pumping the fuel, but this is how I'm going to use my drill, just my cordless drill to pump the fuel, the oil, into my tank. So while we're on the topic of preparedness, friends, our physical fitness, our abilities to get the job done with our bodies is super essential. And if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, I've created a whole separate channel for that. And it's called Fit on 3. And I'll do my best to remember to put a link in the description and in the comment section of this video. In here, I've just got basic camp stuff like pots and coffee makers. Oh man, I lost my percolator top. Hopefully that's still in here somewhere. Gotta get this a little bit more organized, as you can see, but it's got wet wipes, and I've got freeze-dried foods in here, and I've got stoves and alcohol for an alcohol stove, some duct tape, you get it, camp stuff. And whenever I have a sticker handy, I stick it on my door right here. Oh, I've got one. Wait, come with me. Speaking of stickers, my friend Garrett from Bear Forest Knives, who I work closely with, and I've got a few knife designs through his company, has sent me this Super Bear. That is a real knife right there, and if that don't get the job done, he's probably not liking how I just stabbed that into the sand, and a lot of you knife guys out there are going to be a little bit like, oh, in the sand. It's like the thing to dull the knife the fastest is sand. But anyway, there's the Super Bear. Don't step on that. I'm going to stick a brand new Bear Forest Knives sticker on my door here. Got to clean off the spot. Hey, if you are looking at this door and you have a business and you don't see your sticker on there, and you're outdoor related, obviously, send me a sticker. Maybe I'll stick it on my my cabinet door. So I've teamed up with Stokermatic, and we are going to be doing a class on the 29th and 30th of March. So if you're interested, it's going to be a survival/land nav course, and it's going to be in North Georgia. You're going to love it. It's going to be tons of fun. There'll be a link for that in the description and in the comment section of this video as well. Of course, I never travel anywhere without my pet, Moon-Chin, the moose. It's a really big thumb. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. So up front here, guys, I keep a lot of the essentials. I've got all the charging cables and cords and whatnot for phones and all the other devices and stuff that I might use. That kind of stuff, but that's not very fun to talk about. Let's talk about real stuff. Right here on this hook, I keep a pretty comprehensive medical kit from Bear Independent Refuge Medical. And that is always right there because chances are, I mean, we all talk about the shootouts at the OK Corral, but chances are probably most likely scenario where you're going to need a med kit is because of some sort of car crash. So having it ready to go in your vehicle so you can have it at a moment's notice, I think is pretty dang important, and this is a good one. I can't solve every problem, but I can solve a lot of problems with this kit right here, and I think it's a really good idea to have it and then get some training on how to use the stuff. Got some moleskin here in case you're having to hoof it. The truck breaks down, you got to walk and you develop some blisters. That's really nice. Replace some of your skin that you've lost. Having a good pair of shoes. I wear flip-flops, not flip-flops, but sandals. I wear sandals all the time. Everybody in the comment section always calls them flip-flops. There's a difference, okay, friends? There's a difference between flip-flops and sandals. I wear tactical sandals, okay, because I can do all the stuff in my sandals that you can't do in flip-flops. But I also carry regular shoes. I got really comfortable leather boots in my truck right there, ready to go. Boom, with socks. I got like 3, 4, 5 pairs of wool socks in here if I should need them. But when you're in aquatic environments such like this, especially when you're dodging marauding hordes of murdering dolphins, it's good to have shoes that you can swim in. It is super important to bring spare clothing and all of that, the basics, the essentials in your vehicle when you're traveling. Because right now, it's extremely warm where I am, but at my home, where I traveled from, less than 500 miles away, it could be well below freezing at night. So having a variety of clothing options, such as puffy jackets and whatnot like that, are going to be really important. Well, friends, I really do appreciate you watching. I'm grateful for all the views. I'm grateful for your comments. Make sure you're leaving some sort of comment. Any comment will do. When was the last time you saw a marauding horde of murderous mammalian aquatic beasts? Let me know. Let me know in the comments section. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on through.